Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Charlie's Cruise Tips and Reviews. So first of all, to get the elephant out of the room, I will be doing a video soon about Carnival's new rewards program and how I really feel about it. I'm trying to get my thoughts together, put it in a more professional manner before I put that video because I do have a lot of thoughts on it and probably you don't want to hear them at least what's going through my head right now about them. So I'm trying to get those thoughts together, and I'll be doing that video soon on about their new rewards program and what I how I feel what they're doing to their loyal customers like myself. But that's another video for another time. This one is for my most recent cruise on the NCL Escape. This is my fourth time on this ship, and to be honest, this was one of the best cruises I've had on NCL since Kevin O'Sheehan stepped aside and Frank Del Rio took over as CEO. But since he stepped down as CEO, that I could tell night and day there's a much bigger difference. And I think that was the Frank Del Rio effect, that he was more about nickel and diming and making as much money as possible instead of the actual service aspect of it. But again, I'm not going to get into that because this just overall was a really, really great cruise. Okay, so this was a 7-day cruise. We left out of Miami. We went to Puerto Plata, St. Thomas, Tortola, and Great Stirrup Cay, Bahamas. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, if any time at all, on the ports of call itself because I'm going to do more of a review of the ship. The ports of call were excellent. I only really did one excursion on this cruise. It was in Tortola. I did the the excursion to Virgin Gorda, did the baths. I went to the beach there. It was beautiful. I'll talk about that a little bit. I'll talk about Puerto Plata a little bit because it was my first time in Tenillo Bay rather than Amber Cove. So I'll talk about that a little bit. But as I said, I'm not going to be spending much time on the ports of call on this one. Okay, so to get to it, I'm going to first start talking about the ship. The ship was great. My studio room did have a couple of things that needed to be touched up a little bit, but that's going to be taken care of once in dry dock. I mean, the normal things, a couple of things needed to be repaired, but like I said, they normally do that stuff in dry dock. It wasn't a big deal. So my fourth time on this ship. First time, however, I bought the bypass. Now, before I thought about it, I finally did this time, and I realized on this ship it's really not worth it because there's so many areas on board you can enjoy yourselves, especially Spice H2O. It wasn't overcrowded at all like at other times, and whenever you did go, you could get a chair at Spice H2O. So I would say on this ship, I wouldn't get Vibe again, especially when you cruise in the summer months because at Vibe all they do is have a hot tub, and that's about it's not a lot of shade. Spice H2O, they have the big video screen, they have the bar, and also the waterfall grotto, which, trust me, in the heat I was in, it was wonderful. It was, I can't use the words to express it, how nice it was just having that water down on you, especially when it was so hot. That was just refreshing. It was so refreshing. So, yes, on this ship again, which I'm going again on June next year. I'll skip the Vibe Pass because I really didn't use it. It was a waste of money. I bought it. I only went up to Vibe twice, so I wouldn't. For people who are thinking about the Vibe Pass, if you're really going to use it and you really want to be in a quiet part of the ship and you don't care about how warm it gets or about waterfalls or pools or anything like that, then get the Vibe Pass. But if it's something you do think you're going to go back and forth between Spice H2O and Vibe and other parts of the ship, then I don't think it's worth getting. But that's my opinion. Everyone has their own opinion on that. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about on this cruise is the crew on board, the staff on board. They were excellent. Okay, I just can't put words into my mouth how great they were. They really, like I said, they have stepped up their game a lot. Like I said a couple of years ago, remember I said NCL stepped your game up? Well, they have. The crew, especially the bartenders, they called you by name. They remember what you would drink, unlike other NCL cruises. So obviously, there's been a big I don't know what the term I'm looking for, but they're definitely more in tune with the service and being more personal with the guests on board than they were before. So that was a refreshing surprise, which I definitely welcome. Okay, so I'm now going to talk about the cruise director staff. Cruise director staff was excellent, especially Jack, to cruise director. This is my second or third time cruising with him. I don't remember, but I've sailed with him before. He remembered me. We talked a little bit, but he was busy the whole cruise. I only saw him a couple of times. The first time in a long time, I didn't get to take my traditional picture with the cruise director. He was so busy all over the ship, and to be honest, so was I. So unfortunately, it just didn't happen. So next year, when I'm back on the NCL Escape, that's the first thing I'm going to do is take a picture with him. Second thing, Kate, she was the assistant cruise director. She did a wonderful job. I thought she did a good job. She was all over the ship. Maria remembered me from a couple of years ago. She's still on the escape. She and I had some good conversations. She and I had a lot of fun. But I definitely want to give a big shout out to Piper, who was the solo travelers host on this cruise. She's definitely the best solo travelers host I've had in a long time, if not the best one I've ever had. And this is my 11th or 12th. I lost count how many times I've stayed in the studio room on NCL or have gone to solo travelers gathering. So that being said, she is definitely one of the best, if not the best. So definitely huge shout out to her because she just did a wonderful job. And I know how challenging it is being in the studios when you have that and solo host when you have that many people trying to organize this, that, and whatever. But she definitely she was the best one I've had in a very long time, if not ever, and she definitely needs to be recognized for that and promoted. At least I think she needs to be promoted, but that's my opinion. Okay, when the bar staff, as I said, they were very personal. They called you by name. The restaurant staff, they were good as usual. As you know, on NCO, they have the freestyle dining, so you don't have the same wait staff every night. But the ones we did have, they were very good. They were very attentive, and as I said, everything on this cruise so far, it was just wonderful. The crew, okay, as I said, the dining staff, the bar staff. I'm gonna go into the dining now on board. The main dining room, they changed the menu a little bit, which very nice. It's like still a very good menu. So they still have the traditional things on board, the herb crusted roasted chicken, the grilled New York strip steak as their classic entrees, but the ones they change every night was a different menu, and it was a very good menu. So you had a very good selection in the main dining room. One of the nights they had the pork barbecue spare ribs. One night they had a mixed grill of ribs, chicken. I think that night I got something else. I don't remember what I got that night. They had some very good starters available. They have a wonderful lava chocolate cake for dessert. Every other night you can have a scoop of ice cream as well, or just a regular ice cream, which I did a couple of nights. Now, as far as the specialty dining, I'm just going to tell you, I went to Teppanyaki. Straight up going to tell you, if you go there, do not have a big lunch because they give you a lot of food. I mean, a lot of food from the fried rice, the miso soup. Before we even finished, I was too full. I didn't have room for dessert. So if you go to Teppanyaki, the hibachi grill on board, don't have a big lunch that day because they give you a lot of food. I got the kakamura, which is the steak and chicken combination. The chicken by itself would have been enough because they give you a whole chicken breast and then a whole 8 ounce, 8 to 12 ounce New York strip steak. So, like I said, if you go to teppanyaki, don't have a big lunch that day, or at least have a later reservation in between lunch and dinner, so you're definitely a little bit more hungry because it really is a lot of food. It's more food than you would get if you went to a hibachi grill in your hometown or on another ship. It really is that much food. So just keep that in mind that day have a light lunch because otherwise you want to be on an empty stomach when you do go to that uh, teppanyaki for dinner because it is a whole lot of food and you will not leave hungry. Trust me on that one. Another place I'm going to recommend on this ship if you go to specialty restaurants is Cagney Steakhouse. If you go there, everyone likes their own cuts of meat, but I am going to recommend the ribeye steak. That's my favorite there. I get it medium well. It's always perfect. I would suggest it there. The If you're going to get the sides, the baked potato and the steamed broccoli, those are always wonderful sides. But like I said, look at the menu, decide what you want. But Cagney's, if you have the specialty dining package, you get one or two. Definitely go to Cagney's on board. I get it automatically because I'm platinum, so I get the two free complimentary 2 for 1s. one for Cagney's, the other one I went to Moderno Brazilian Churrascaria, which if anyone's been to, you know how it is. The take it easy on the salad bar before you act go when you go there, because as you know that is a lot of food as well at the Churrascaria, where they have different types of chicken, pork, lamb, and different cuts of steak. So I would recommend take another place, have a late lunch that day, and take it easy on the salad bar, because you do not, even though they have an amazing salad bar there, you don't want to fill up there with the amount of food they do have available for you to have at Moderno Churrascaria. Next thing I want to talk about on board are the bars and lounges. The bars and lounges they were all great. I tend to have my spots on the ship, so I like to go to Tobacco Road, the Spice H2O bar. I go to the Poorhouse bar, which is outside on the waterfront, especially later in the day when the temperatures cool down. Have a drink or two outside. I definitely will recommend on this ship, however, if you want a very nice chill environment, you want to go to the District Brew House on deck 8. It's just a very chill environment. They have different types of beers. They have on tap. They have the bottles. They have their own beer, brewed beer on board. So I would definitely say it's just a very nice, very chill environment. It's air conditioned. They have the TVs on so you can watch sporting events. They have a bunch of tables all over the place. So it's just a very nice, chill environment. If you just want to sit down, relax, and have a drink, I would definitely recommend the District Brew House on the ship. Okay, so as I said before, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the ports of call, but I am going to talk about two of them because I went to St. Thomas. I've been there a million. I don't know how many times I lost count. How many times I've been to St. Thomas? I did my normal stuff. I did my walking around. I took my pictures. I did some shopping. I got a drink at one of these little bars that's right outside the cruise port, and I got back on board the ship. So St. Thomas, I didn't do an excursion this time. St. Thomas, I always have fun in. It's one of my spots. As I said, I have my spots there. So in St. Thomas, I didn't really do much except for my normal thing. In Puerto Plata at Tenio Bay. Okay, so this was my first experience with Tenio Bay compared to Amber Cove. The vibe at Tenio Base was okay, but to be honest, they have two separate pools instead of one large pool. And then the lazy river, which goes around, which was nice, but only goes around one of the pools. I thought it went around the whole thing. It only goes around one of the pools, and you have to go. There's some things that you have to pick up to go under and everything. So it's not like a typical lazy river, like if you were at a resort at Myrtle Beach or another hotel resort which has the lazy river where it just goes right around. You don't have to like pick up any strings or branches or anything. So just keep that in mind if you go in the lazy river there. To be honest, I did enjoy the port and I did enjoy the pool area, but to be honest, between the shopping and the two separate pools, they did have a man-made beach there, which I didn't go on, but they did have a man-made beach there, which another thing you can enjoy to do there compared to Amber Cove. But to be honest, I kind of like the vibe, the feeling at Amber Cove a little bit more than Tenio Bay. So if I did dock in Tenio Bay again, next time I do stop there, I will book an excursion because it is a nice cruise port, but it's not one of those that's like, okay, I can spend the whole day here. Next time I'll probably maybe do an hour or so, or first and foremost do an excursion, then spend the after go into the port itself because I think the two ports in Puerto Plata, Amber Cove and Tenio Bay, Amber Cove is just a little bit better. Um, Okay. Next port I went to where I did do an excursion was Tortola. I did the excursion to Virgin Gorda and the Bats. Now, there were two tour options to do on my excursion, hiking option, should I say. One was just go straight to the Baths Beach, which I did, where you just spent the whole time on the beach, relaxing, going in the water, have something for lunch. And the other one was the uh, the beach I was on, and I forgot the name of the beach it was, but where you went on that beach, and then you took a tour of the caves. But with the way my knee and back were feeling that day, I'm like, this hike is not for me. So I just decided to go to the beach and relax a little bit. And I gotta tell you, it was a hot day, so going, that first and foremost, the water was so clear, it was so nice. I couldn't wait to get into that water. And once I got in there, it took about maybe a minute to get used to. But once you were in there, it was just so nice. It was calm, relaxing, very few waves, if any at all. It was just the sea, actually, the entire Caribbean Sea. This whole cruise was just very calm. You didn't feel it at all. It didn't rock at all. It was just a great experience. So actually, I picked the right week to go this time because this Caribbean Sea itself, it was just very calm. There was no rockiness. It was very steady. It was just a very relaxing experience. So going in the water at ugh, at the Baths Beach in Virgin Gorda. It was just so relaxing. It was refreshing. Then you went back on the beach. You put a little bit more sunblock. You hung out in the sun. It was just an overall great day. So I would definitely recommend if you're in Tortola, do the excursion to the baths. Either if you do the caves or you don't do the caves, it's still a wonderful excursion. So I 100% recommend that. Now, the last port of call, which was the last day of the cruise, which is Great Stirrup Cay, to make this note, I could see them as we were pulling in where they're building the pier. As you know, if that at Great Stirrup Cay, they're building the piers. So starting in 2026, I believe it is. Hopefully they're on time. If not, we'll wait till 2027. But you will no longer need to tender into Great Stirrup Cay. There will be a pier there. So when you get off the ship, you will dock there, and then you can just walk right onto the island. So you won't have to worry about the tender tickets anymore, priority or getting a tender ticket, an excursion. It will just be like most ports, you can just walk off the ship and go right to the beach. So hopefully that opens sooner than later. But I did see them start building it. It's being built, and it looks like it's going to be done very soon. On the beach, they had a great barbecue lunch. Now they didn't have the pork ribs this time, which does surprise me a little bit. They normally have the pork ribs. They had chicken, sausage, burgers, hot dogs. So I just got a burger and hot dog. They didn't have fries, which surprised me a little bit because they normally have fries at this barbecue, but they didn't this time. I don't. They did have grilled corn, but I wasn't feeling it, so I just had a burger and a hot dog and a couple of drinks. As you know, if you've been to Great Stirrup Cay before, the drink package does work there. So just keeping in mind, if you do have the drink package, you won't have to pay for any drinks there. It is covered by the drink package on Great Stirrup Cay. So it was just a very nice, relaxing day. I went in the water there. It was just as nice and calm and relaxing. Keep in mind, when you're in Great Stirrup Cay, you're no longer in the Caribbean. You're in the Atlantic Ocean, and it was very calm, very few waves. It was night. The water was warm, refreshing. So it was just overall a great day to finish off the cruise. Um, so as far as I'm concerned, the ports of call they were great. Next year I do stop in Great Stirrup Cay again, but that will be the first day of the cruise because it will be a Western Caribbean itinerary. So we make our first stop there, and then we head towards the Western Caribbean. The last thing I'm going to talk about in this review is the entertainment on board. Now, I didn't, and the parties on board, should I say, also the parties, the entertainment and parties. I didn't spend a whole lot of time at Showtime on this cruise. I really only went to two places on board as far as the entertainment, if not the parties. I didn't do the comedy this time at all. I just wasn't feeling going to comedy. Um, so the two things I did, entertainment venues I did go to was Hal at the Moon and Sid Norman's Poorhouse. Now on this cruise, they had the traditional first show and the traditional ending prom show, but in between they had two uh uh what's the word I'm looking unplugged shows. They had the two, if you remember, they had the two shows in between which were good. The acoustic shows, I'm sorry, they had the two acoustic shows. So two shows were acoustic music only, and the other two were the traditional 80s, 70s, and 80s hair metal style shows. So those were great. They always finished with the prom, which was great. I still recommend Sid Norman's Poorhouse for anyone who likes uh, rock and roll metal. You're definitely going to like this show. And the other one I went to was Hal at the Moon. One of the piano bar players this time at Hal at the Moon I've sailed with before, Pair. He was wonderful. He remembered me. I remember him. Actually, we've kept in touch over the years, so he knew I was coming. I knew he was coming. And the other two piano bar players, they were wonderful. So Hal at the Moon was always great. But this time, they actually did not play the last night of the cruise. The last performance was the second to last night of the cruise, which is usually weird. They're usually off that night, or this time they actually start. They've added a couple more shows. They played about 5 times on board instead of four because they went to every other night when they first came back from COVID. So now they played the first night, second night they were off, then third night, fourth night, and sixth night. And then the last night they just weren't there, which normally they close the cruise. So I found that a bit surprising, but it was a bit different, but it was good. And I would definitely recommend on this ship or any ship that has Hell at the Moon to check out Hell at the Moon. Now, last thing I'm going to talk about are the parties on board. They had a Latin party, which was a lot of fun. They had a 70s music party that was okay. I went, I didn't go. That wasn't my type of thing. The 80s party was great. It was a lot of fun. All 80s metal music, dance music, metal, hair metal, rock music. It was great. It was a whole lot of fun. But the one part I'm going to talk about is the glow party because the glow party, as I've said in other reviews, is previous to this was just I mean, they played only one type of music. I mean, after an hour or so, it started to die down. Not everyone goes to it, but this glow party, it was insane. Everyone was on the dance floor. It was crazy. They played different types of music, which they normally didn't do with glow party before. I think this reminded me of the old white hot party NCL used to have years ago until they switched over to glow. They still kept the glow party theme. However, it felt more like a white hot party with the different type of music they were playing and the type of dancing that was going on. So yeah, it felt like the old school white hot party, which was a lot better than the glow party with the glow party theme. So it was a lot of fun. It's probably the best glow party I've ever been to. Like you literally couldn't walk anywhere. It was that full. It was, but after about an hour, I I was starting to tire out. I went to Hell at the Moon. It was so crazy. You couldn't walk anywhere. It was so full. It was so much fun though. It was so much fun, and I would definitely looking forward to see if the party is the same way next year or if it's going back to the way the glow party was used to be, which just act. But I'll have to wait and see. So in conclusion, overall, this was a great cruise. The one thing I'm going to say is that, because I did mention the bars and restaurants for, we did have a bar crawl on board organized by someone in the Facebook group. Now, at the time, we did not know this, but apparently NCL does not allow pub crawls on their ships anymore. So in the middle of our second, third stop on board, security and the bar manager shut us down, telling us we're not allowed, they don't do pub crawls anymore. So we had to stop, and that was the end of that. Which surprising, a bit surprising me because every cruise line I've been on has the pub crawls on top of which they usually encourage it because it means they sell more drinks and they make more money. But it is what it is. That I wouldn't even call that flying the lane. It was just maybe the only thing that didn't drive that I wasn't crazy about on this cruise. But other than that, it was just a wonderful cruise. I'm gonna give this cruise 9.5 out of 10. A 9.5 out of 10. Only reason I'm giving it the 9.5 instead of the full 10 is because of that little thing with the pub crawl. Because it once it starts, just let it finish, or at least don't shut it down, or at least don't let it get started to begin with. But it is what it is. This was another wonderful, great overall great cruise, and I cannot wait to go back on the ship again next year. Thank you very much for watching, and I promise we'll be back soon, especially with that carnival video. Have a good night, and remember, be a cruiser.